Hello, and welcome to the last hustings event for the Manchester SU officer elections. Voting will be opening next week on Monday the 8th of March at 10 AM for the officer roles, the NUS reps, and the vote of no confidence referendum. I'm Tom, the station manager of the student TV station Fuse TV, and this is the Welfare and Community Officer hustings. So far, we've heard from the candidates for the General Secretary, the International Officer, the Women's Officer, Liberation Access Officer, the Education Officer, the Postgraduate Officer, and the Activities Officer. You can watch all of these back on the Mancunians Facebook page, as well as the SU's Facebook and YouTube channels. Joining me today are 4 of the 5 candidates for the Welfare and Community Officer position. They are Frida Heaven, Lamis Anjum, Sosha Joubert, and Sebas Rodriguez. Charlotte Smith was unable to attend live due to technical issues, but has pre-recorded her speech and answers to be played during the stream. Don't forget, you can read all of the candidates' full manifestos at manchesterstudentsunion.com/elections. Now, the Welfare and Community Officer is all about campaigning to improve student rights and creating a great community in the city we study in. The Welfare and Community Officer is the lead student championing a number of issues and student rights outside of teaching. With over 40,000 students studying at the University of Manchester, this role is vital in ensuring every student has access to the right health and wellbeing services to a secure home and to feel safe in Manchester. To begin, each candidate will have 2 minutes to give an introductory speech about themselves and their manifestos. When their 2 minutes are up, I will raise my hand to indicate that they should finish at the end of their sentence. First up this evening, we have Frida Heaven.
My name is Frida. I'm a third-year history student who has been actively participating in campaigning and lobbying the university for change for most of my time as a student. I initially was involved in the fossil-free campaign, but after reaching success in this, I have moved towards launching an Undoing Borders campaign, which looks to end the hostile environment and discrimination towards international students. Most recently, I've been involved in being an active supporter of the UOM rent strike and took part in the occupation of Owens Plot Tower last November, which was central to winning the 30% rent reduction that was given to students living in halls during semester 1. Moving forwards, I would like to use the position of Welfare and Community Officer to empower students on campus and allow more people to push for positive changes to be made within the university. This would include driving the university to include students more when making decisions, supporting future student-led campaigns, and offering online workshops and advice about students' rights on campus, how to best navigate situations involving police and security guards, and how to negotiate with private landlords. I want to ensure a safer and supportive campus for students by working with student support staff to make gaining both financial and wellbeing support easier to find and more effective, and creating a more accessible and effective support system for students who have experienced discrimination or abuse in any way. Another of my main aims is to fully decolonise the university and promote social justice both for students and staff. I'll do this by engaging with groups such as Decolonise UOM and working with groups like the BDS campaign to ensure the university is acting in a socially responsible way at all times and continuing to support the work of Undoing Borders. So if that sounds like something you'd like, please vote for that.
Thank you very much, Frida. Next up, we have Lamis Anjum.
Thank you, Tom. Good evening. I hope you're all doing well. Students have been treated unfairly and unjust throughout this academic year. From the university erecting fences around the Fallowfield campus, to students being racially profiled, to landlords extorting students for unlived accommodations. It is time to reclaim our university experience. As the president of Unsworth Park, I have listened to the horror stories students have been put through and the unforgivable circumstances students have had to endure. As a student representative, I have listened to the piling amount of pressure from online learning and the lack of resources and guidance given to students. My aims are to implement a campus-wide mental health week to coincide with exams in May, schedule events, talks, and interactive workshops to allow you to reach your full potential throughout this stressful time. I aim to increase funding to our mental health services and to continue the work with upholding the accommodation pledge, allowing students to leave their contract at any time. I aim to provide easy access to mental health resources, making it an absolute priority, ensuring you have the tools and resources you need without the bureaucracy and simplifying the process. What kind of representative would I be? If you choose to elect me, you will find that I'm dependable and passionate about advocating issues on behalf of students. Previously, I've been involved in the 30% rent reduction for accommodations and halls, and I have helped oversee data which allowed our student union to secure a 50 million hardship fund alongside 200 other universities. As someone who has studied in 2 countries, England and Saudi Arabia, I understand the nuances to being both an international student and a home student. Ultimately, my agenda is your agenda. I'm here to fight for your rights, for your voice, and for your well-being. Change is needed, and it is needed now. Make your voice heard. Vote Lamise Anjum on the 8th of March.
Thank you very much, Lamise. Next up, we have Social Tuber.
Thank you. So, hi, I'm Saoirse. I'm a third-year politics student from Ireland, and I've also been one of your part-time officers for Fallowfield and Withington this past year. Through my time in this role, I've become very familiar with the inner workings of the SU, and I'm eager to use this hands-on experience to push for more to be done for student welfare. Especially in the context of restrictions easing, I know that there are so many new opportunities for new exciting things that we might not have necessarily been able to accomplish this year. So from this, if elected, I aim to improve the halls experience by creating safe, supportive spaces that prioritise students' physical and emotional needs. I'll do this by creating new opportunities for students to meet each other and increasing funding for RAs and JCRs. Secondly, I want to fight for safer streets, so I'll be pushing for campus security to patrol not only main campus, but the main student roads, particularly in Fallowfield, Rusholme and Withington, which have recently been sites of violence, harassment and just general unsafety. I will also fight for more street lighting so that students feel safe walking at home. I'm also I would also like to work for safer, better quality housing by working with landlords to ensure that students are treated fairly in the renting process. I will fight for their right to leave contracts easily without excessive financial repercussions. And I will also work with landlords to ensure that no students live in houses that are just not up to standards and genuinely unsafe. Fourthly, I want to work on making our campus more environmentally friendly. And lastly, I want to hold our university accountable for student wellbeing issues. The university has gone on far too long being unchallenged, and I really think that this needs to change. So overall, I just want to create a safe, positive and supportive place for students to live in Manchester. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saoirse. Sebas Rodriguez.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Sebas, and I'm running for Welfare and Community Officer because I truly believe that ultimately it's up to us as students to shape our experience at university. And doing so as an officer, I wish to be someone who can amplify and empower the voices of all students. Now, as an international student, I have experienced firsthand the hardships students face moving away from home and into a new environment. And so being a past leader, a part of the buddy scheme, as well as a diversity officer at the School of Biological Sciences Society, all these experiences have made me really passionate about students' well-being, and they've really shown me what issues are common to students and how to best address these. So one of my main points will be to support the student demands, like issues on rent, mental health, and learning, all of which have really been impacted by COVID. And in this vein of thought, I really think it's essential to bring to light the mismanagement by Nancy Rothwell and her team. But my manifesto will also focus on other points and where to look forward. Things like improving safety, because I know how stressful and concerning this is, especially on campus and Fallowfield. I'll focus also on community and student renting, because I know there's a lot of predatory behavior by lending agencies and landlords, and I think the SU and the university should be responsible for offering legal advice. Other things like access to health, making sure that students are aware of how to register with a GP, access health services like sexual health and sexual health screenings, as well as mental health by expanding the buddy scheme and improving access to counselor. Now, these are just a few points, and ultimately, I really want to fight for the issues that matter to students the most and make their time at university as enjoyable and meaningful as possible. Thank you, and I hope I can count on your vote.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to go to Charlotte Smith, who's pre-recorded her speech.
Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte. I'm a final year history and sociology student and I'm from Nottingham. I just wanted to use this opportunity to give you a quick introduction of myself and what I'm about and what I've been up to since starting university. So I love the city. I love all the history that comes with it. The incredibly diverse community is just so inspiring, and I've absolutely loved the city since moving here in 2018. Mostly I've been involved in volunteering, so I've previously ran an activities club for children experiencing homelessness in a local hostel in Fallowfield. I'm also currently the RAG volunteer for the International Challenges Coordinator. We basically oversee and support various challenges and fundraise for charities. At the moment, we're supporting the Reclaim the Night fundraising challenge, which is raising money for the Pankhurst Trust to, support those women that are, and people that are experiencing domestic abuse at the moment. So yeah, if you see that, please do get involved. Also, I already work at the SU. I'm the volunteer support assistant at the moment. It's a super fulfilling job. I absolutely love it. I love getting to see all the various different things students are getting up to in the community and all the positive things that we're really bringing to the community that we move to, which is something that I really want to celebrate in the role rather than focus on all the negative things and just be scapegoated in the media for all these awful things that we're supposedly doing. But yeah, I just want to really focus on all the amazing things that students bring to the community. So my three main focuses as welfare and community officer will be to tackle student isolation and focus on what mental health support students actually need from the university. I want to do this by improving the funding for events, socials, volunteer projects to get students right back out there and rebuilding relationships. I want to improve the living conditions, making sure maintenance is fixed on time and efficiently, and reassessing uni-approved landlords. My final main aim will be to improve the student community, making it safer, greener, more inclusive and more positive by promoting more positive relationships between the university staff and students.
Charlotte Smith there. It's now time for some questions submitted by the student body. Each candidate will have 30 seconds to answer, after which I will raise my hand again to indicate that it's time to finish up their sentence and wrap up. So the first question is, what is your stance on the senior leadership vote of no confidence referendum, and what do you think caused it? First, we're going to go to Sebas.
Hi, thank you for the question. Yeah, I think that the biggest issue is that the senior management team, they haven't put the staff and students at the heart of management. And so in doing so, it would have really helped to avoid all of this miscommunication between the two and the fencing around halls. And they would also been way better at addressing the issues like mental health availability.
Thank you. Fritha Heaven.
Yeah, in terms of my stance on the vote, I'll be voting yes. I think the senior leadership team's response to everything that's gone on with COVID has been appalling. And I think it's definitely been caused by the fact that students feel that they've really not been heard at all. And the senior leadership team really haven't shown much interest in the way students have been affected. So I think students really deserve to have a senior leadership team that are going to represent their best interests and like really push for the experience of students to be as best as it can be.
Thank you. Charlotte Smith, re-recorded.
So my stance would be to obviously just really listen to what students actually want from the referendum. So obviously if they vote yes, then I'll obviously support them with everything that they decide. I feel like it's really in the students' hands. I feel like, yes, the senior leadership team made so many mistakes and really did let down the students this year. There's just been a massive miscommunication with everything. Everything's just been not really well managed and well handled. So I think definitely if the referendum does say yes, I will definitely support that decision and obviously work with the student body and the university to really make that happen and get a management team that actually supports students and really helps them to make the most out of their student experience.
Sasha Joubert.
I mean, I think the senior leadership has just been a complete disaster recently. I think that they've completely disregarded any voice that the students might be able to have. I think it's been completely mismanaged and leadership has been kind of misplaced. And especially in like Fallowfield and stuff, the students have just not been the priority whatsoever. It's all been about the university's reputation and things like that. So I really think like something needs to change there. I think they need to be held more accountable for their actions also.
Thank you. And finally, Lemis.
Thank you for the question. The evidence has repeatedly shown that students should not have confidence in the senior leadership team. We had the fences incident, we've had the racist incident. It's absolutely unacceptable how the university has been treating students. Every policy that the university has implemented has always been too late, and it's always been a reaction to students struggling, failing, and constantly speaking out because they feel like nobody is listening to them. So absolutely, the senior leadership has failed us. They failed in their communication. They failed in helping students. They brought us here and they locked us in and took our money.
Thank you. I thank you all for your answers on that question. The next one. Reports indicate that students are suffering from a mental health crisis that began long before the pandemic. What are your thoughts on the current support provided by the university and your ideas for tackling the crisis? We're going to start with Limise.
The university has shown again and again that its aims are profit over the well-being of students. Its increasing pressure on academics has definitely shown that throughout before the pandemic, but especially since the pandemic, it's just skyrocketed. The National Union of Students reported that 50% of students have been seeing a decrease in their mental health since the pandemic started. This is unacceptable, and the university needs to implement proper intervention for students so they can get the help they need before it's too late.
Sacha Joubert.
I agree with what Limise just said. I really think that the support that they have in place at the moment is completely insufficient. It's, waiting sometimes weeks for a response from anyone regarding mental health issues is just not acceptable where we pay 9K a year for this. So I really think that, the more institutions should be put in place so that, students have access to these resources. Like, it shouldn't just be a well-being Wednesday or whatever they have, but yeah.
Thank you. Fritha Heaven.
Yeah, to echo what's already been said, I feel like students do feel as if when reaching out for mental health support, a lot of the time they might not be taken seriously, just with the way that the whole system is set up. Also, I think from speaking with some members of the support staff, there's a sense that there's a lack of uniformity within the different departments and how to access support anyway. So I think that really needs to be dealt with just to make gaining support more accessible. And also, I think teaching staff need to be aware of the system so it's easier to access as well.
Thank you. Sebastian Rodriguez.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what everyone said. I do think the biggest issues are availability and also accessibility to counselors. There is a lack of them, and it's really hard to get a hold of them once you try to get access. So those two things are something I definitely tackle.
Thank you. And Charlotte Smith pre-recording.
I think the support provided by the university at the moment is just not adequate enough at the moment. I feel like it really needs to be reassessed and listen to what students actually need from the support, rather than just kind of like dishing out like pretending lockdown's a holiday, or like offering support that is not very accessible and you have to have long waiting times. So I think really improving that support available, making it more accessible, making waiting times shorter, and just listening to student body and what they actually need from the support, rather than just like handing out support things that like people just don't need, or like don't feel like that's what they actually want.
I thank you again all for your answers on that question. So aside from mental health, what is one major university issue that you hope to address if you are elected? We're going to go straight back to Charlotte Smith for that one.
I think at the moment with the pandemic, I think a major thing is like student isolation. I feel like students haven't been given the chance to build those relationships that they come to university for, to kind of meet people, like-minded people. So I feel like as welfare and community officer, I really like emphasize rebuilding those relationships, making students get the most out of their experience by increasing funding for events, socials, projects, making volunteer projects more accessible, widening the participation for those, to get students just back out into the community and rebuilding relationships that they've missed out on this year.
Now we're going to go to Sebastian Rodriguez.
Yes, I definitely agree with what Charlotte said. I do think it is time to involve more students and make university social again. And to me, I intend to expand the buddy scheme to do this. And I think every first year should be involved with the buddy scheme and have someone who can really show them what university life is, and just throw them right in there, make them be social, and make university life fun again.
Thank you. Fifth of Heaven.
Yeah, I really want to focus a lot more on tackling the issue of discrimination and abuse on campus. I think the university really needs to work on holding people accountable who are responsible for those things, but also offering a lot more support to victims of abuse and discrimination on campus. And I think that's an issue that's been around at the university for a very long time now.
Thank you. Lamis Anjum.
Thank you. Aside from mental health, I would also like to focus on increasing funding to allow students to have access to societies, events. First-year students this year were robbed of all those experiences, those novel experiences that you get in first year, such as Freshers Week, going out, creating a community, creating lifelong friends that you will have way after university. I think is really, really important after we've had a year where people have been locked in their rooms, they've been isolated, they've been forced to stay at home. They should be allowed the opportunity to create communities and make lifelong friends.
And finally, Sasha Joubert.
I definitely agree with everything that's been said. And aside from mental health, I think prioritizing student safety is really important. So especially in the past few months, Fallowfield has been just incredibly unsafe to live in. Especially as a girl, I feel like I just don't feel safe walking home after 6 p.m. So I think it's really important that I think we can work with the Greater Manchester Police so that they can actually cooperate and, respond to issues, regarding assault and stuff rather than only responding to, house party calls and things like that. So.
Thank you all again for your answers on that question. Our final question, and it does pick up on some points that quite a few of you have already mentioned in this talk. So from safety at night to high rent, to rundown housing, to excessive or lacking police presence, students have highlighted a number of concerns about their experiences whilst living in Manchester. What ideas do you have for improving life in Manchester for students? We're going to go straight to Frith of Heaven.
Yeah, this is something I think is incredibly important, and I really want to offer easily accessible things like workshops and social media outlets that students can use to sort of understand what is safe to do in Manchester, sort of what are their rights when negotiating with police and landlords, improving ways to learn about which landlords are safe to rent from, anything to do with that really. I just think that information needs to be made a lot more easy to access and a lot clearer and accessible for everyone.
Thank you. Lamis Anjum.
Thank you. I think the main thing is to listen to the students, listen to what their concerns are, such as not feeling safe at night. The university has just launched the Student Angel scheme, so we can work on expanding that, making sure every single person in the university knows who they can contact on a night out, what taxi services are trusted. And also in terms of housing, we can help advertise to students who wish to move out of halls in their second year, which housing companies are safe, who has good track records, and especially get experiences from past students to pass on to the new students.
Thank you. Sasha Joubert.
So I think the main thing is that we need to listen to students' concerns primarily, because we can all say, oh, I think this is the biggest issue, when really they know what the biggest issue is. So I think one thing is that we can maybe work with is the Greater Manchester Police, like I said before, with campus security. So I think they've been big actors in the past year in student experience in Manchester. So I think that there's a way to kind of cooperate with them, wherein they're kept happy, but also students' well-being and safety is also kind of kept as a priority. And as well, I think. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, thank you. Sebas Rodriguez.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Safety on campus is a big, big issue. Another one I'd like to highlight is renting with private landlords. I think one idea that I have, and I think it's really essential for university to have, is offering legal advice so that students can avoid getting scammed and they understand what they're signing to, what they're putting their money into. So definitely legal advice when renting.
Thank you. And Charlotte Smith.
Yeah, so one of my main pledges is to improve the student community by making it safer, greener, more positive and more inclusive. So basically, I just want to improve the relationships with the university and students, make campus more safer for people that are working, increasing the police and rebuilding the communications between the police security and students to make sure students know that they're actually there to support them and make sure that they're safe from harm. There's been so many reports of like assault and stuff on campus, and I feel like with the miscommunications and everything this year, security and police have been kind of shown to be like not working with the students. So I want to really improve that relationship.
I thank you all again for your answer on that question, and I also thank you all for taking part today. You can find the full manifestos of all of the candidates at manchesterstudentsunion.com/elections. That is it from us for this week and the candidate hustings. We thank you for watching. The voting for full-time and part-time officer roles, as well as the NUS reps and the senior leadership referendum, opens at 10 AM on Monday, the 8th of March. Don't miss the chance to have your say. We'll be back next week with updates about the election, but for now, goodbye.